Hey everyone, Alan here, just bringing you a video on sleep. So I'm kind of going to have a bit of a focus on sleep for the month as a bit of a theme. So I'm going to give you some more things to do around sleep in terms of tracking and a few other educational pieces and different bits of content. So in terms of sleep, the reason why I'll go through all the points for why it's so important. It's something that I'm trying to improve a good bit now by using a couple of different sleep trackers. So I'll share that information with you too. But essentially, obviously, the big focus for us here in general in the fitness kind of world is always like on nutrition and diet and how they go hand in hand. But sleep is always the undervalued thing, and people often underestimate the impact that sleep, particularly poor sleep, can have on absolutely everything from your hormones to your energy levels, appetite, all of that stuff. So yeah, and like there's some really good resources around sleep, and in a much more detailed video, there's a really good book recently brought out called Why We Sleep by a professor called Matthew Walker, and he's done the rounds on a lot of different podcasts. So I'll share with you a podcast link where you can listen to him be interviewed and talk about sleep for like 2 hours, and it's something that I've probably watched or listened to two or three times now. Like, it will really emphasize how important sleep is and make you kind of want to put it to the top your priority list. So in terms of sleep, like firstly, just in terms of the importance and why it's so important, it's the single most restorative thing that we can do. So we often have a focus on rest and recovery, and people stretching, and people are debating ice bath versus going to a sauna and all of this different stuff. But generally speaking, sleep is the most restorative thing we can do. It's literally like we plug our electronics into the wall at night to recharge. That's what we do with sleep. Yet people don't do it correctly or don't give it enough attention. And this is really important for our demographic in particular, because I know a lot of you have children as well, and they've grown up in this technological revolution where they're exposed to a lot more electronics. Their circadian rhythms and stuff like that are all over the place due to all of this stuff. And even that Matthew Walker, I will talk about it in the podcast. Like, we're the only there isn't a ton of research done on sleep and the effects of like losing sleep and sleep deprivation, because it's such a hard thing to do, and there's no other. A lot of research goes on in animal models, but there's no animal on the planet that forgoes sleep like we do. Or will stay up late and will watch things, or is taking caffeine that's keeping them up. So in terms of the actual importance of sleep, it's a single big, like, massive risk factor for weight gain, obesity, and all sorts of metabolic complications like insulin resistance, a few other different things like that. Studies have shown it simply, those that sleep more tend to have better BMIs, tend to have lower body fats, tend to be overall healthier and fitter in general. It also has a massive effect on our hormones. So things like cortisol, which is a stress hormone, which plays a role in fat storage. Leptin and ghrelin, which are our hunger hormones, which essentially tell our bodies when we're hungry, and then also dictate how or when we're full as well. So essentially, if those with less sleep or suboptimal sleep have suboptimal leptin and ghrelin levels, so the body will tell them that they're hungry and not tell them when they're full. So it can increase your appetite, cravings, and it also affects your choice of food. So when people are sleep deprived, and when I say sleep deprived, it can be as little as, if some people are 6 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep, that's what we're talking. It's not like someone has to stay up all night to have these detrimental effects. Those with less sleep, like 6 hours versus 8 hours, are more likely to choose more like rewarding foods. So foods like, like really high calorie foods or high sugar foods that give you a quick release of energy, like ice cream and such. So those with less amount of sleep actually make worse food choices as well, tend to store more fat. And overall, there's just an overall increased risk of every single disease and all-cause mortality from those that sleep less compared to those that sleep more. Every physiological process in the body and every cognitive task that has been tested has been shown that those that have been sleep deprived somewhat score worse or fare worse in those tasks in all studies. So just that it's a general overall decrease in exercise and cognitive performance. I think it's 30% lower performance in terms of like running to exhaustion, in terms of in terms of strength, in terms of recovery, in terms of lactic acid buildup. Like it's just everything, and also an increase in risk of injury. So particularly for athletes or people with sons, daughters that play sports, those that sleep less have a higher risk of injury. So in terms of actual habits, these are some of the main habits that are generally considered to be best practice in terms of healthy sleep and habits. So I'll just go through them all fairly quickly. So one of the most important ones is to maintain a regular sleep schedule. So you can't bank sleep and then have poor sleep all week and catch up on the weekend. It just doesn't work like that. So one of the most important things you can do is maintain like a pretty consistent pattern. So that might be 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And you're trying to keep that right the way through, even on weekends as well. Our bodies like routine, essentially. We want to be aiming for 8+ hours a night, like particularly in this day and age, there's people that will, take pride in, I can get by on 6 hours of sleep, and people may get by, but even if we look at male population, males with 6 hours sleep compared to 8 hours of sleep have like lower testosterone levels, aside from all of the stuff that we've already discussed. So the males will have testosterone levels of similar to that of someone 10 years older than them. So if you've got a 40-year-old male who's on 6 hours sleep a night, he's got like some of the endocrine system numbers of a 50-year-old essentially. So everyone should be aiming for 8 hours a night, ideally. The next one then is caffeine, which is a stimulant, and it obviously has a half-life and a quarter life in terms of how long it stays in your system. And we probably over-abuse caffeine as well generally now. So we should generally avoid caffeine anytime in the afternoon. So post 2 p.m. is a good cutoff time, because you'll still have caffeine circulating in your blood and brain later on at night, which is going to affect your sleep if it's obviously some people will deal with caffeine differently, but generally speaking, try to avoid caffeine past 2 p.m. Avoid alcohol in the evening. So I know that people will tend to have a belief that a glass of wine in the evening can be a good thing, or might have more than one glass of wine, but alcohol can actually impact and blunt some of the sleep responses. So it won't let you get into like your deep REM sleep, for example. Sleep in a totally dark room. So your room should be pitch black. Ideally no light coming into your room at all. That's going to be a positive thing to affect your sleep. Avoiding large meals or drinks right before bed is also going to be good, because it's going to let your body digest everything. You're not going to so if you have a large meal just before you go to bed, then your blood has to get into your digestive system and process that meal, which is just preoccupying your body from doing some of the things it wants to do before you go to sleep. Avoid blue light, especially after sundown. So this is a really big one. Any of the light emitted from your phone, laptop, TV, etc. contains blue light, which mimics the effect of sunlight. And we have a circadian rhythm. So a circadian rhythm is just basically your body's natural clock, and we've had this since we existed on the planet. So when the sun comes up, we secrete hormones to wake up, give us energy. And then when the sun goes down, we secrete melatonin, which winds us down, relaxes us, and lets us go to sleep. And this has been going on and on and on. Like the sun will go down, we'd kind of chill out, go to bed, sun would come up, we'd wake up. But now in today's world, with all of the technology and lights that we have, we're kind of screwing that up. And particularly for people with children that have teenagers, or our kids growing up with phones and stuff, this would be the biggest thing that's going to affect their sleep in the long term, which also I didn't mention earlier is a big impact on mental health. But avoiding blue light. Try and avoid any sort of electronics post sundown. You can get blue light blocking glasses that you can wear in the evening. You can dim the lights in the evening and have candlelight. There is some apps like Flux for your laptop that will pull out the blue light out of the screen and give it a bit of an orange tint that's easier on your eyes. So that's a massive one, avoiding blue light after sundown. Get some direct sun exposure during the day. So this is just working in the opposite of that one. So actually exposing yourself to sunlight during the day is a really positive thing. Keep your room at a cool temperature. So our body will sleep better at an actual cooler temperature. So if you can have your room cooler, that would be better. And if you are someone that struggles to sleep, a hot shower or a bath before bed is really good, and that cools your core temperature down, which helps you go to sleep. Keep a regular pre-bed routine. So again, having that same sort of routine, it could be as simple as the order you do your, like undress, wash, teeth, whatever, 5 minutes reading, bed, and just having that routine. And then, especially for people that travel for work or whatever it may be, or sleeping in unusual places that they're not used to, you can keep that routine, and that actually helps you get to sleep too. Wind down, have some time for relaxation in the evening. Try and like carve out some time to either read or meditate or do something relaxing before you go to bed. And then the other thing is not to exercise too late at night. So exercise is great, obviously, and has tons of major benefits and will help sleep later on if you tire yourself out during the day. But in terms of, just don't have it too late at night, because it will spike cortisol and have an impact on things in general. So yeah, so there's some good healthy sleep habits. I mean, you don't have to tick all of them every single day, or it mightn't happen overnight that you can address all of those things, but just try and chip away and just have a good look at your own habits currently and see if sleep is one of the things that is maybe holding you back or undercutting everything you do with diet and exercise. Because even if your diet and exercise is pretty bang on, sleep or a lack of sleep or suboptimal sleep will definitely undercut it and have a negative impact.